Hi, I'm going to make a video today, and the question that I'm asking in the video is, should I blow in my own wall insulation? And I'm an avid DIYer. If you've been following my channel, you've been seeing me work on the addition over the years, and we're finally to the stage where we have the blown in insulation. Now, the answer to the question, should I do my own blow-in insulation in the walls? The answer is no, don't do it. I had this professionally blown in, and I'll tell you why. Because you don't have a machine big enough, unless you have access to a big truck-mounted machine with a great big motor. Don't do it. Don't go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get the little tiny Rent-A-Day, you know, you buy 10 bags, you get the little blower for free, the one you can throw in your pickup. Don't do it, because it's not going to shove out as much insulation, and you're not going to be able to pack it as tight. Now, we blew in the attic ourselves with that little machine I'm talking about from Home Depot or Lowe's, and that was fine because it's loose fill. But this, when you put it behind the fabric, don't do it yourself. This took us, we're going to walk through and show you the insulation, but this took the insulators 5 hours. And there was 2 insulators and me, and it took us 5 hours. If it would have just been me and my wife with the little tiny blowing machine, it probably would have taken us 5 days, okay? So what I did here is I put the insulation netting on myself. It's just this stuff, you can get this off HomeDepot.com. It's the ADO netting product. And make sure you get it. Don't use something else. Don't use plastic or house wrap. Don't do that, because here's why. This stuff is really breathable, and when they go and shove their hose in, all that force and all the air pressure is just coming right back out here. If you just put some other stuff that's not this netting, then what's going to happen is just all that air pressure behind there is just going to rip the staples off. Okay. Now, what I did, the insulators told me I put too many staples in. Which, okay, well, guess what? Too many staples is better than too few staples, because if I put too many staples in, what did I do? Waste $30 more on staples? Well, guess what? If you don't put enough staples in, then the insulation is going to get behind the cloth, the netting, and then when you do your sheetrock, you're going to have to go in and cut it out with a knife. And so I had a bad experience with the other insulators that did the sunroom last year, but these insulators were great. I don't have no problems with them. So if I would say, yeah, go ahead and do the netting yourself, but you have to get you a gun like this. It's got the longer magazine, so you can fit more staples in, and you're going to use hundreds and hundreds of staples. And this is just the, it's just a little Fastco. The Fastco. Let me see if I can tell you the model number. There it is, Fastco F1B, and I can't see those letters now. But I got the one with the long magazine, so you don't have to sit and reload it all the time. And if you're going to try to do this with a hammer tacker, don't do it, because you're just going to end up hitting your fingers and breaking your fingers. And when you put a cloth on, you want to do it as tight as possible. So what I did is I kept my straight line up at the top, and I got it all the way along the top, and then it came down, and I pulled it down as tight as I could with my hand, come all the way down the stud, and then I pull it this way, and you just have to keep tightening it. And so like this place, it's a little bit loose right here, but the insulators know what they're doing, and so once I push that back in, then once I push it back in, the sheetrock's going to go fine over that. I'm going to take the camera from JJ for a second. Agarra esto. Now, you see how I did my little blocking right there? These for the sheetrock blocking. I like doing it that way because then they can get the insulation back there, but you don't, it's kind of tricky, because then when you go to put your cloth here, what you have to do is you have to bend it around. You have to bend it around right there and staple it down to the stud. So it works like that, but if I had just put a solid stud up in here flat, it would have been easier to nail the cloth on. But then if I do that everywhere in my house, then I'm wasting a lot of money on studs. So this works fine. You know, it's not, this isn't the Taj Mahal, so I do my blocking like that. Now on your headers, like look at this one, because they blew that header in for me because there was room in there, because that's a 2-ply header. I'm talking about the framing header. But on this one right here, it's a 3-ply header, so they can't blow into, what is there, like a 1/2 inch up there? So they can't blow that in. So what I did on the other ones, I took little bats. I'll go over here. I took little pieces of the bats, and I just kind of separated them and ripped them apart with my fingers, and then I stapled them up there, so that's insulated. And I went crazy on the spray foam around the window, but that can be cleaned up later. Any little outlets, at first I didn't know if I was supposed to cut out the cloth on the outlets or wait till after they sprayed it, but they said, no, you can cut it doesn't matter, you can cut those out. But I'm glad I cut them out, because they probably wouldn't have been buried anyway, but still, I'd just like to have them cut out. And then I had actually put up some sheetrock before they came in, and you can do that, but just you know, see how I put my netting up first, and then I put the sheetrock on, so that's not going to be in their ways. And let's go around and look at this other. So what I did here, this is in the bathroom, from the master bedroom to the bathroom. So I just did that for soundproofing. And another thing I'm going to mention, if you're doing your own plumbing, I did my own plumbing and my own framing, everything. And I used a 2x6 wall for the wet wall. And now I'm glad I used a 2x6 wall, because now I can get more insulation in there for sound deadening. Now this one looks fun. You're looking at it like, oh, they didn't blow that in all the way. Yeah, they did. There's a bat behind here. And so I just brought the cloth over too far. But they blew it in anyway, and that's all going to sheetrock over fine. The reason I didn't put bats in all this sound wall is because there's too much plumbing to go around, and I don't like trying to go around and cut around with the plumbing, because when you're doing this, you need to use, when you're doing this cloth, you need to use one of these razor sharp knives. And if I'm going around, see, like my pipes are, you can't tell here, these are copper stub outs, but they're PEX, and if I'm going around PEX pipe and I hit that with a knife, that's bad deal. So that's why I say. And then over here, just another exterior wall. And then you just got to realize that insulation, it's kind of like when they're pumping in concrete into a form, all that force. Of course, that's an exaggeration, but like the little places like that where I knew the insulation was going to blow up in there, I pre-batted it, which means I just stuffed the bats, like you could tell right here. Feel the image age. I messed up. So these bats, see, I put the bats in because I don't have a way to get my staple gun down there to staple that cloth. So I put the R30 bats, and I stuffed them in there tight so that the insulation has a place to, so it's not going to spill out the bottom right here. You see that, like this one, if I didn't put the bat in here, then it would have spilled out the bottom. So I just stuffed that tight with the bat. And then you just gotta, like this place right here, you have to realize, because I have attic space above that, so the attic's gonna be really cold. The other insulators that came out last year on my sunroom, they didn't even insulate this part. I had to do this myself. They just totally missed it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be the one that puts the netting on, so, because I know this project better than they do. And there's going to be some little spaces like this right here. This was too tight where they can't get their hose in there. When their hose comes out, they bring a little 2-inch attachment, but they can't shove it in there, so I didn't put any net in there. I just stuffed that full of bats. So you'll have to do stuff like that. And then, you know, I went through and I sealed it myself. We'll go over here and I'll show you the gun I got, because I was first using the cans of the spray foam, the little $6 cans at Home Depot, but those don't last very long, and they run out pretty quick. So I'll show you the gun I used. But like over here in my bathroom, you know, I wrote on my walls. This is my blocking for my toilet paper holder. I wrote that there and I already took pictures so that later I don't have to try to find those blocks again. And that Sharpie shows up really well on that fabric. And what else was I going to mention about this project? Like up in here, see up in this arch, I knew that insulation was going to just blow up there wild. So I've already put a bat of insulation there so it didn't do that. And then this is all insulated here. You know, I had to get on my little shoe shelf right there. Had to get under there. I already had pre-drilled those holes, and so they knew how to insulate that. And then let's go downstairs in the garage. I'll show you where I had a blowout. See right there? I had a blowout right there because on the other side of that, there is, I had wanted them to blow that in because I couldn't get bats up there. See that? So they blew that in, but then it started blowing out, so I had to jump up here really quick and then stuff that full of the pink insulation. But that worked out fine. And then it looks like I missed one. My plan was to have them blow in where all the ducts were, but I missed that with my cloth, so now I have to bat that. And then the rest of this floor, I just haven't got to it. I'm putting bats up. Like over on this side, where there's a bunch of plumbing stuff and heating stuff, I had them blow it in, but everything else that was just an open bay up in the floor, then I'm putting bats in it. And I wasn't going to show you the little gun I use, but it's just the one you can get at Home Depot. It's just like a little $60 gun, and you buy the big cans with the acetone to clean it out. I would recommend getting that. I should have got that years ago. And what else was I going to say? ¿Cuál pistola?
Esa es la que estás hablando sobre.
¿Quieres ir a traer?
No, pero me acuerdo el nombre.
Oh, ¿cómo es?
Creo que era como Pro Foam Gun, algo así.
Yeah, JJ says it's the Pro Foam Gun at Home Depot. But you could buy it where the cans of spray foam are. And then like right up there with all my plumbing and wires, I can't get the netting around that, so I just stuffed bats in there because I'm gonna sheetrock around that anyway. I'm gonna build little boxes around that and conceal that plumbing in there, and I can also put additional insulation behind that at that time. So over here by the garage door, got all that insulated. And this being a garage, I am going to have some thermal bridging here on the foundation. I don't know, maybe later I'll come back and take a piece of rigid foam and glue it on there and then sheetrock on it or something. I'm just going to watch it out here and watch my temperature because my little garage door sensors have the temperature on it. It's 51 in here right now. We'll see how that does overnight. But since I have a living space above my garage, I have to insulate it, and plus I have plumbing up in that floor, so I have to insulate it. And this soffit right here, this is where all my ductwork is. I came before and I put the bats up, and I didn't need to put this fabric on, but I just wanted to because those bats were kind of sagging. And so I thought, well, I'll just put that fabric up there and stretch it tight. And so that's what I did. And I'm not sure if I got those bats upside down, but I figure insulation's insulation. So if that's the worst mistake I've made on my house, then I'm doing pretty good. But I don't know, maybe you can see other mistakes that I've made on my house. But let's go back here in this area. And this is going to be like a bathroom slash laundry room. And so I kind of insulated around here to keep it, because that's an exterior wall from outside. This is just to separate the garage from this bathroom because I have heat in here. Anyway, and I know it's hard to kind of like follow me when I'm on this because this is my project and you haven't been on site before. But if you're doing your own project, I really do recommend to put your own netting in because it's easy, and you could do it just one person, but do not blow it in yourself. Avoid that. Now everything we looked at here, we've been walking through it, and they charged me $5,125 just to come and blow it in, which, I mean, I felt like it was kind of high, but they did a good job and it's done now. So if I need to cheap out on something else on my project, like I'm not going to put granite countertops or anything fancy like that, but I'm not going to cheap out on insulation because there's no way to redo this once the sheetrock's up. But with the granite countertops, I just put laminates up right now, and then later I could put granite. So that's kind of the way I do things. I try to, if I'm going to cheap out, I'm going to wait till the end of the project and cheap out. I'm not going to cheap out on stuff that nobody can see, because those are the most important things. That's going to be the difference between a nice house and one that's not so nice, in my opinion. So anyway, I hope that helped out, because I've been on YouTube looking for videos about how to blow in your own insulation, but I just really couldn't get a definitive answer. But now that I've done this project and I've had them come and blow the insulation in, I would not have tried this myself because I just had a bad feeling about it. And I'm so glad that I just called in the pros. And if anybody's over here in the Colorado Springs area, the company I chose was Powers Insulation out of Colorado Springs. We live quite a ways. We live about 45 miles east of the Springs, but they came out here and they got it done for me. So anyway, garage is insulated. Now it's just going to be sheetrock mayhem. So hopefully I'll have another video on the sheetrock fairly soon. All right. Thanks to all my subscribers. We'll catch you on the next one.